Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k Necrons. In today's video we're going to be doing another review, a data card review. This time we're going to be looking at the Necron Overlord. Now before the datasheet update thing, the Overlord was definitely an S tier kind of unit. However, there have been some nerfs with that balance update, so therefore we're going to kind of go through the datasheet, data card, and also talk about those major nerfs, as well as giving a Planet 40k rating at the end of the video. Just remember guys to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this kind of content. Right, let's get into the Overlord's data card. At the back side of the data card to begin, 85 points for the one single character. And he used to be 90 points, then you have to also pay for the Resurrection Orb and maybe the Void Scythe if you were taking that in 8th edition, in 9th edition. In 10th edition you pretty much get all the gear that you want to get. And there's lots of options which we're going to go through in a moment. So you're equipped with the Tacking Arrow and the Overlord's Blade as stock. And if you want to, you can change the Overlord's Blade for the following. So you've got the Staff of Light or the Void Scythe. In fact, you're swapping out the Tacking Arrow as well as the Overlord's Blade for one of those options. The Overlord's Blade, you can keep the Blade. It's written really poorly actually. You can keep the Blade, you can swap out both for the Staff of Light, or you're swapping out both for the Void Scythe. And if you're not equipped with the Tacking Arrow, you can then take a Resurrection Orb, which is kind of what you want really. You really want the Resurrection Orb, otherwise I don't know if it's worth taking him. We'll get into that, I suppose. We'll get into that. Now he is a leader. He can go in the following 3 units, either a unit of Immortals, a unit of Lich Guard, or a unit of Necron Warriors. So they're the 3 options there. We'll get into that as well in the synergy section of this video. And finally the keywords: Infantry, Character, and Noble. Noble is quite important for the Lich Guard. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit. So let's flip the card over. Starting off with the statistics, and we've got the movement is now 5 inches. It used to be 6. Very standard. Toughness 5. The armor save went to a better armor save. It's now a 2+ armor rather than a 3+, which is cool. We've got the 4+ invulnerable save, don't forget, which is at the bottom right of the card there. We've got an extra wound this edition with 6 wounds. Leadership 6+, and objective control is only 1. Fine. Now those stats in general are definitely, they're decent. We've only lost an inch of movement, but gaining an extra bit of save and an extra wound I think is pretty good. And he's gone cheaper, so far so good. Let's move into the weaponry. Now if you were to take, let's just go in order of what the sheet says. It's just easier because there was lots of different options and swapping outs. If you've got the Staff of Light, it's virtually the same as it was in 9th edition, 18-inch range. 3 shots, Ballistic 2+, Strength 5 minus 2 AP, 1 damage. You can't expect to do a lot with it with 3 shots, but you're likely hitting with them. Strength 5 is probably enough for the light infantry and standard infantry. Minus 2 is good as well. 1 damage is just chipping off a wound here and there. Next you've got the Tachyon Arrow. In terms of ranged weapons, in fact it's the last ranged weapon here. It's a one-shot thing. You can only use it once in the entire game. It's lost range. It used to be 120, it's now only 72. I say only, 72 is more than enough, guys. You don't need to moan about that, really. 72 is just fine. You get your 1 shot, of course. Ballistic 2+, the strength went from strength 12 to strength 16, which is good, but as expected. I mean, you want to be wounding the big stuff on 2s or 3s, and the big stuff has gone up in terms of their toughnesses, haven't they? So, strength 16 is fine. We're likely wounding, like I said, 2s if not 3s on the bigger stuff. Minus 5 AP is virtually taking away an armor save unless it's an invuln save. And the damage went up to D6 plus 2. It used to only be D6. I still think D6 plus 2 is still not great. Just give it a flat 6 for me. But, you know, it is what it is. It's a once per shot thing, so GW should just give us a decent rule here. We should either ignore invuln saves or give us good damage output, but we've got neither. So that for me is one of the reasons I wouldn't take the Tacking Arrow, and the other reason is you can't take the Resurrection Orb, so I don't really tend to use that. The melee weapons, we've got the Overlord's Blade, which is kind of like a War Scythe. Devastating wounds. You've got 4 attacks with it. Weapon skill 2+, the strength went up to strength 8 from strength 7. Minus 3 AP, so it's lost a bit of AP there. And 2 damage. I say it's lost AP, this wasn't actually a weapon in 9th edition. It's just a kind of, I'm just presuming it was a War Scythe. Staff of Light is next. Again, it's the exact same in terms of as it was in 9th edition, and the exact same as the ranged weapon, except you're getting 4 attacks with it, not 3 shots. Hit on 2, strength 5 on 2 AP, 1 damage, exactly the same thing. It's not going to do a lot, especially in a fight. Maybe you're chipping off a wound here or there. Again, it's just extra bonus attacks for the unit, I suppose. And the Void Scythe, which is actually pretty good. It's got dead wounds, again, very similar to the Overlord's Blade. So any critical wound rolls of a 6, you're going to ignore armor and invuln saves. Not mortal wounds anymore, that has been changed. But with only 3 attacks, you're not often getting that. But yeah, 3 attacks. You're hitting on 3s with this, which is the same as 9th edition because there was a -1 to hit with the weapon. Strength 12 instead of strength 10. Not bad, not bad. -3 AP instead of -4 AP, very similar to the War, well, the Overlord's Blade. And the damage is a flat 3, which was as it was. So I quite like that weapon. Yes, you are hitting on 3s. Yes, you lose an extra attack, or lose an attack over the Overlord's Blade. But you've got the strength 12 over strength 8 and damage 3. So it's a bit more of a... You can use it more on characters, which is probably the only real threat to an Overlord if he's hidden within one of those 3 units. The Epic Challenge stratagem, potentially, or precision strikes with melee attacks. So it needs to be being able to fight back. So what have we lost out of that group from 9th edition? We've lost the Void Blade, we've lost the Hyperphase Glaive, the Hyperphase Sword, and the Void... I've already said the Void Blade, so I wrote that twice on my sheet. So yeah, we lost the 3 weapons there. No one was really taking those 3 weapons, so it's kind of a good thing that they've condensed this down to just these weapons. I'm actually impressed with that. That's good. That's a decent change for this edition. Now we have lost some abilities, but we'll go over what we've got first. Of course, we've gone over already the leader ability. We can go into one of those 3 units, as we said in the intro. We've got reanimation protocols. We've then got the new version of My Will Be Done, which has been nerfed. This is the nerf part of this video. So what is My Will Be Done first? Once per battle round, 1 unit from your army with this ability can be selected or can be targeted for a stratagem for 0 command points, even if you've already used it in this phase. Now this has been massively nerfed because in the latest balanced datasheet update thing, they've now restricted this to only battle tactic stratagems. And we've only got a few. We've only got the Protocol of Hungry Void and the Protocol... Oh, what's the other one? I'm just going to scroll down just to double check it. It's not the Eternal... Conquering Tyrant, the shooty one. So out of the Necron Codex or Necron Index, we've only got 2 there that are battle tactic. And in terms of the core rules, you've got the command reroll. And I think there's one that's... I think it's Go to Ground that no one ever uses. So there's actually 2 restrictions, not just 1 here. Because first of all, you're not getting the non-battle tactic stratagems for free. But second of all, the second sentence, in fact, of this ability where it says even if you've already used a stratagem this phase, you can only use that part on battle tactics as well. So if you've used the Protocol of Vengeful Stars, you can't then be using it with the Overlord even if you pay the CP, because it's not a battle tactic stratagem. So there's a double nerf there, which for me is a huge problem. So yeah, that is the main ability there. My Will Be Done in the old edition used to be a +1 to the hit roll for units within 9 inches. Now that's pretty much command protocols in a way. So we haven't really lost that, although we have lost Relentless March, which was something in 9th edition. Now the other ability is Implacable Resilience. It's basically a -1 to damage. What do I think of that? I don't think it's that great of an ability for this model, because he's likely going to be buried in a very resilient unit. 20 Necron Warriors, 10 Necron Immortals, 10 Lich Guard, all very resilient, all have loads of defense mechanisms and reanimators and even the Resurrection Orb, which we're just about to speak about. They're very likely dying as a full unit. So having a -1 to damage only really relates to, again, precision and epic challenge for the stratagem. Other than that, yeah, you don't really need it, in my opinion. But yeah, that's the abilities. We've got some War Gear abilities, which we've spoken about how to select this one. The Resurrection Orb, basically you can use your Reanimation Protocols ability in your opponent's command phase, as well as yours. So that will only, of course, work on the unit that he's with. So if he's with 20 Necron Warriors, and it's your opponent's command phase, you can do Reanimation Protocols. Potentially you're getting D3 +3 if they're on an objective, and then another D3 if there's a Reanimator, and you know the story by now. You can get a load of models back, and it could be important because you're getting them back before your opponent actually scores any points. So it could actually steal objectives and do all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, that's the main, well, that's the front of the data card. let's look at the actual synergy for the Overlord. So we've kind of already mentioned what he can go with. He can go with Immortals, Lich Guard and Warriors. And as soon as he joins that unit, he's going to be providing a +1 to the hit roll with Command Protocols, which is our Awakening Dynasty detachment rule, because we've only got one detachment at the moment. So +1 to their hit rolls regardless of what unit they're in. Now if you were taking him with the Lich Guard, they've got their own ability, which is if they've got a noble in the unit, it's a -1 to wound that unit, which is quite a powerful ability. And he of course has the noble keyword, so that's another bit of synergy there. The main real synergy you've got is the Resurrection Orb. I know we just spoke about it, but with all three of these units, that Resurrection Orb could be really key. Now there is an argument, particularly for the Warriors, where you could just take a non-Resurrection Orb kind of character and instead take a Ghost Arc. There's an argument there and probably a video. I've got that planned in my list somewhere. What's worth it more, the Ghost Arc or the Resurrection Orb, or maybe a Reanimate? It could be a triple threat match there. But yeah, that's the main synergy, bringing models back as often as you possibly can. You've then got another option here, which is the Cryptex. If you go to any of the Cryptek profiles, you'll see that if you can attach any of these Cryptek models that you can see on the screen now to the same unit that the Overlord's in, because they are either a Royal Warden or a Noble, even if you've already got the character already there. So you can effectively have two characters within this unit and apply all the bonuses from both of the characters to the entire unit. So if you just run through these, I mean the Psychomancer's not really doing much for us, to be honest with you. I wouldn't bother with him. Orican the Diviner gives the unit a 4+ invulnerable save. Now the Overlord already has the invuln save, so that combination does clash slightly, just slightly. A Technomancer gives the entire unit a 5+ Feel No Pain save. The Chronomancer gives the unit a -1 to hit if they are being targeted at range. And the Plasmancer gives critical hits on a 5+ for the entire unit. So there is extra synergy there. And also, if you're taking Cryptex, you can take the Cryptothralls, which have the Cryptek Retinue ability. So effectively, they can go with a Cryptek model as well as an Overlord as well. And you know how good these guys are. I mean, yes, they did go up to 60 points. But they've got the 4+ Fear No Pain save. They give the Cryptek a 4+ Fear No Pain save. And if you keep reanimating these guys back, it's a pain in the butt to get through. On average, your opponent needs 8 damage to go through with 2 different attacks. Well, 4 damage per attack, if you like, as a minimum, just to get rid of them on average. And as soon as you do your reanimation protocols and you're within 12 of a reanimator, they're pretty much coming back. So, yeah, very, very strong to have them in the unit. Other little bits of synergy, you've got the stratagems such as the Protocol of Eternal Guardian, which is not a battle tactic stratagem, so you will be paying for it, and you'll only be using it once in a phase. You pick your infantry model out that's just been destroyed, and you get him back up again with half of his starting wounds remaining. So I'm just going to double check what his wounds were, because it did go up, didn't it? It was 6, I believe. Let's have a look. Yeah, he's on 6, so he'll come back up with 3 for 1 TP. That's pretty good. But yeah, notice that that's not a battle tactic stratagem, it's an epic deed stratagem as indicated in this red circle. Now the ones that are battle tactic stratagems, as we mentioned earlier on, you've got the Protocol of Hungry Void and the Protocol of Conquering Tyrant. The Hungry Void allows the unit to get a +1 to their strength and also a bit of AP action on top of their actual weapon. That's in melee, so that would be useful for mainly Lich Guard, but you can use it on Warriors and Immortals. They can still fight, especially with the Hungry Void. Maybe if you've got Luminous Ares nearby as well, get even more AP. And the Protocol of Conquering Tyrant, which is one of the ranged stratagems. In the shooting phase, basically get to reroll win rolls if you're at half range. But if you've got the character in, which you will have, then you can do it at full range instead. So you're basically getting full rerolls of your range attacks. But that one you can use for free, and you can use it if you've already used it in that phase. So those two, in fact, you can do that with. Command reroll, we kind of mentioned it as well. That is a battle tactic stratagem. Having this every single turn is not bad. And you've also got the option of enhancements. You've got the Veil of Darkness relic potentially, or the Hypermateria Ablator, which gives your unit the benefits of cover as well as stealth. You might not need a Chronomancer with that. Bit of a clash in abilities there, so you probably won't need a Chronomancer. Maybe go for a Technomancer in that case. But yeah, that is the synergy. Let's have a little look at the battlefield role as well as the secondary missions that can be scored with the Overlord. So the battlefield role. First of all, you're adding a layer of defense to your 3 main units within your index. Having that resurrection orb is the main key factor here. Command protocols is the second factor. Yes, any character can do that, to be honest with you, but he is a character, so you're going to be bringing him in for giving a +1 to the hit rolls. And finally, the free battle tactic stratagem. Again, if you're doing this, if you're keeping him alive for 5 turns, then for 5 turns you could be potentially re-rolling all your win rolls at range, or having 5 CP re-rolls for the entire game, or 5 Hungry Void stratagems all game, so that has value. Even though it has been severely nerfed, that ability, that still holds some value, having 5 CP, if you like, if he stays alive all game. Which he likely will do. Depends if he gets target, I suppose. The secondary missions that you can kind of relate to an Overlord, it depends on the unit to begin, but I'll kind of be a bit vague with this. Secure No Man's Land, extend battle lines, and defend Stronghold all relate to our area or the No Man's Land area, just holding on to ground. Maybe it's the Lich Guard with the swords and shields, maybe it's loads of Necron warriors, maybe it's the Immortals that are doing either. You've then got area denial, just get into the centre of the battlefield, and maybe you're doing the... maybe you're just denying that space there. Again, it could be warriors. Overwhelming force to be able to take over an objective. Storm hostile objective, very similar. And attempting target, also very similar. You can do all those. Now, would we be doing assassination with him? Not really. Bring it down? Probably not. Capture enemy outpost? Probably a little bit too far, unless you're using a Veil with some Lich Guard potentially. But yeah, I wouldn't really bank on those ones, but the ones on the screen you can do, depending on the unit that he's with, I suppose. Right, let's get into the pros and cons for the Necron Overlord. Starting with the pros, the free Resurrection Orb. Resurrection Orbs are good. We like Resurrection Orbs. Command protocols, yes, it can be done with any character, but he does provide it. He can be taken with a Cryptek alongside him, and you're going to be getting double bonuses from the 2 characters there. The My Will Be Done ability, yes, it has been nerfed, but as we just said, you're still going to be getting 5 free stratagems as a maximum throughout the entire game. That could be 5 CP rerolls. 5 CP worth of stratagems is always good. He's got the Noble keyword for the Lich Guard synergy, and he's got weapon options, which, yeah, the options are not massively going to do a lot because he's not got the biggest damage output, but if you really wanted the Void Scythe, go for it. If you want the Tachyon Arrow, I wouldn't, but go for it. It's up to you. You've got options. Implacable Resilience, which is the -1 to damage. I don't rate it that much, but some people do. You've got it. You've got enhancement options, which is always a good thing, where if you've got the named characters and you're not getting those options in. And he's got a 4+ invulnerable save, which is helping resiliency. As for the cons, it's a huge nerf to My Will Be Done, as we've said a few times in this video. Previously we were using the protocol of Undying Legions over and over, just bringing models back constantly, or the protocol of Vengeful Stars, and that's a massive stratagem, by the way, and that was free. Now it isn't. It doesn't have much damage output, as we just mentioned. I mean, the Staff of Light, not really. The Void Scythe, yeah, but it depends on what the unit is. If you're going with Lich Guard, then I suppose it's good. Same with the Overlord's Blade, but if you're going with Warriors and Immortals, you're not using that as often. The Lords are the cheaper version of getting the Resurrection Orb into the game. I think he's 20 points cheaper, and currently I think he's probably a better pick. For me personally, I would rather take the Necron Lord. The abilities right now are better in my opinion. And finally, he's competing with Imhotep the Stormlord for the CP. Well, I think Imhotep the Stormlord's probably overtaken him in terms of CP, but Imhotep doesn't have a Resurrection Orb, so it is quite close. But yeah, that's the pros and cons all summed up. Let's get into the Planet 40k rating for the Necron Overlord. Previously, it was a 5-star rating, easily. Now, not so much. Now, I was umming and ahhing about where I was going to go with this. I had to go onto my Discord, have a little chat with a few guys in the council, and eventually I come to the conclusion that he is still decent. He's still decent. So for today, I'm going to be going with the Planet 40k rating of 4 stars. He's still selectable. You're still getting 5 turns maximum of CP, and he's still got the invuln save and all that. We've already kind of gone through it. So yeah, he's still definitely usable, just as good as the Necron Lord, potentially. So yeah, what do you guys think? Are you still using him? Are you going for the Lord instead? Let me know down in the comments below. Other than that, all that is left to say, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.